Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today's November 27th. We're nearing the end of the year. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I think we have a lot of reasons to be thankful. We'll be discussing that here on the call. It's going to be a shorter call today because I need to get in the car and drive to Nashville to spend the Thanksgiving weekend with my daughter, so I'm going to move quickly through the call. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information we believe to be most relevant. Of course, our major concern is the window for the potential reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt about this thing happening within a matter of weeks, and that's certainly possible. But I'm still of the view that we're going to see this happen in January, and I'll explain that in a little more detail. First, I want to just talk briefly about the actions of Prime Minister Soudani and Governor Alak of the CBI. We see the transition to digital banking, which, of course, is going to stop a lot of the pilfering and corruption, and that's a good thing. We see that Soudani has contracted with international companies to assist with their banking reforms. We see the near passage of the historic census, which was completed in order to implement payments for the hydrocarbon law, the HCL. We see the collection. We talk about the deletion of the zeros, but technically, in my view, it's the collection of the zeros. They're getting the 3-0 currency out of the markets, and of course, the 3-0 currency was created after the fall of Saddam Hussein to deal with the hyperinflation. Inflation is under control, but just the collection of the zeros reduces the money supply, which in turn reduces inflation. As an example, the current administration has printed over $7 trillion in the last 4 years, substantially increasing the money supply, and the result, of course, was inflation. We also see that at the end of this year, December 31st, will also be the end of the auctions, and the IQD will then be paired with a basket, and that Iraq is now Article 8 compliant with the IMF. So all of these things are moving in the right direction. In addition, Parliament's involved in the final reading of the 25 budget, part of the 23-24-25 budget, and everything is in place for the new exchange rate. I kind of hesitate to say this, but I've always been of the opinion that Iraq's been operating for the last maybe 6 months, possibly even a year, with an internal exchange rate or a parameter that the new rate will be within. And the reason I say that is I don't understand how the government could involve themselves in currency swaps with other nations, establish international contracts to rebuild their infrastructure, collect the zeros without a changed exchange rate or a memorandum of understanding. This cannot be accomplished at a program rate. So while they have not announced a new rate and they're not operating internally in country with a new rate, that new rate must be understood by the government of Iraq and all of the other nations and central banks they're working with in order to consummate, again, the currency swaps and all of these international contracts. So I already think that we're done. We just have not been brought into this yet. It's not been publicly announced, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. Parliament's also been involved with, again, the final passage of the budget, implementation of the HCL, and Article 140, which is the de-Arabization of Kurdistan. That does not go directly to the exchange rate, but it does go to the security and stability of the nation. So in my opinion, I think we're going to be in the banks in January. And it's no coincidence that we also have the inauguration of a new administration in January, too. And I don't know that a second Biden-Harris term would result in the IQD being on the Forex, the U.S. Treasury signing off on it. I don't know that that would happen. I do believe clearly that it'll happen under the Trump administration. And while he tends to speak in innocuous terms, I think Trump's made it perfectly clear that he wants this to happen. Trump's also been talking about a new golden age. And again, he speaks in terms that aren't quite understood by many. But if there is a new golden age, it'll be the second golden age, because the United States did have a first golden age. The first golden age was a period between 1880 and 1910. I think I've discussed this before in the past. And this was a period of time where the United States was quite wealthy and was not in debt. This was prior to the creation of the Federal Reserve. The government functioned on tariffs and government bonds. And I think what Trump means is that's what we are going to return to. I think we will see with his administration the audit of the Federal Reserve, a push to end the Federal Reserve, and with the ending of the Federal Reserve, the end really of the federal income tax. Now, there's going to be a lot of pushback about this, but the reason I say this is because he's already nibbling at the edges. He's talking about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. He's reducing the federal income tax. In other words, he's taking away the Federal Reserve's allowance. So, to me, this can only mean that his objective is to eliminate the Federal Reserve and return to tariffs. If you will remember, when he first took office, he took with him to the Oval Office a bust of Andrew Jackson. And it was Andrew Jackson, of course, who helped win the War of 1812 to eliminate the first Federal Reserve, and as president, eliminated the second Federal Reserve. So if Trump's trotting Andrew Jackson out there, it's because I think he plans on ending the third and final central bank known as the Federal Reserve. So how do we, as denarians, deal with this? Because this change is going to mean a lot of things for us. It's going to mean for the first time we're in a position, even as middle-class people, to really accumulate over our lifetime generational wealth. And the way to protect that wealth is to establish a family asset protection trust. It's what wealthy individuals, successful businessmen, certainly politicians, and even the clown show in Hollywood do. They understand in order to protect, preserve, and pass on generational wealth, they need to place it in trust. So, as an individual that has currencies, you're going to establish your trust. You're going to assign your currencies to that trust. When the currencies revalue, you're going to go to the bank. You're going to negotiate the exchange rate. And the USD will then go into the master trust bank account that will be established that day at that bank. And by doing this, you will provide yourself and your family with benefits that they cannot enjoy otherwise, whether you're a denarian or not. By establishing your family asset protection trust package, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. You will avoid personal IRS scrutiny. You'll be able to gift currencies to family and friends and control the post-RV proceeds if you wish. You'll also be able to gift your family the use of things like cars and homes, but still retain control of them within the trust. The trust will allow you to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the exposure, meaning that no one will know the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. The trust will also allow your estate to avoid the federal estate tax, which can be as much as 65% of your estate in excess of $12 million. The trust will also provide certain asset protection benefits That can only be provided through a family asset protection trust package. Pre-RV, the trust will allow you to avoid something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Very simply, it means this. Let's say, for example, you purchase $10 million for $10,000. Transfer the currencies to the trust. Let's say conservatively they revalue for $1, meaning that you now have $10 million in trust. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because under the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, you can only be sued for the value of the currency at the time you transferred it out of title, $10,000. Post-RV, you're protecting your future newfound wealth by segregating each individual asset into a separate subtrust. So if any of those assets get involved in any litigation, only that trust involving that asset would be involved. All your other assets are in other subtrusts, which under the law are separate legal entities or persons not involved in the civil litigation. So all of these benefits can only be enjoyed and achieved through the establishment of a family asset protection trust. A sub-S corporation can't do it. An LLC can't do it. Family limited partnerships can't do it. The only thing that can accomplish this level of privacy and asset protection and some certain tax benefits as well post-RV is the establishment of a family asset protection trust package. To contact us to get our initial package, you can either email us or call us. You'll receive the package. It has a lot of information about us, about the trusts, about how they work, how you're protected, particularly if you happen to be a denarian. You can contact us by email, which is trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC.com. That's trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC.com. Or by phone, which is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Contact us by email or phone. We'll be happy to get our initial package out to you. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover for today. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. I'd like to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. We will, of course, be back next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're getting close to the end, people. So if you have not contacted us to get your initial package, I certainly hope you will do so. Once you review it, you will understand the need for establishing this trust package prior to the revaluation of these currencies. So have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. God bless and speak with you next week. Bye-bye now.
Recorded.